A car door slammed in the blizzard. A child screamed. An 8-year-old girl in a thin pink jacket stood alone on the roadside as taillights disappeared into the white storm. She had no gloves, no hat. The temperature was 12 degrees and dropping. The man who left her there was supposed to be her father. He wasn't coming back. But someone else was watching. From his truck 50 yards away, a Navy SEAL in digital camouflage had seen everything. His German Shepherd was already at the window, growling. And when Marcus Kane stepped out into that frozen hell, he carried with him 14 years of combat training and one absolute certainty. That little girl was not going to die tonight. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. And if this story moves you, please subscribe and follow this story until the very end. Let's see how far this journey takes us together. Marcus Kane saw the headlights first. They cut through the blizzard like wounded animals, weaving across the mountain road with the erratic pattern of someone driving too fast for conditions. His hands tightened on the steering wheel of his pickup truck. Beside him, his German Shepherd Ranger lifted his head, ears perked forward. Easy, boy. But Ranger's instincts were already firing. The dog had spent 4 years in Afghanistan, 3 more training with Marcus stateside. He knew when something was wrong. The car ahead, a black SUV with Montana plates, suddenly swerved to the shoulder. Marcus slowed, pulling his own truck to a stop about 50 yards back. In these conditions, on this isolated stretch of Highway 93, stopping meant trouble. The SUV's passenger door flew open. A man got out. Tall, heavy-set, wearing an expensive coat that looked ridiculous against the backdrop of the storm. He moved around to the other side of the vehicle with jerky, aggressive strides. The rear door opened. A child emerged, or rather, was pulled out. She was small, 8, maybe 9 years old, wearing nothing but a thin pink jacket, jeans, and sneakers. No hat, no gloves, no scarf. In 12-degree weather, with wind chill pushing it towards 0. Marcus's blood went cold. What the hell? The man grabbed the girl's arm and shoved her toward the roadside ditch. She stumbled, fell, scrambled back to her feet. Her mouth was moving, crying, pleading. Marcus couldn't hear the words over the wind, but the man didn't stop. He turned back to the SUV. No! Marcus was already out of his truck before his mind finished processing. No, no, no! The SUV's engine roared. The taillights flared red, then disappeared into the white wall of the storm. The girl stood alone in the blizzard, arms wrapped around herself, already shivering violently. Marcus ran. His boots punched through the snow, his breath coming in sharp clouds. Ranger bounded beside him, the dog's training overriding his confusion. Protect. That was always the mission. Protect. Hey! Marcus shouted. Hey, sweetheart, I'm coming! The girl turned. Her face was pale, her lips already tinged blue. Tears had frozen on her cheeks. When she saw him, a strange man in military camouflage running toward her through a blizzard, she did what any terrified child would do. She ran. Wait, I'm trying to help you! But she was already scrambling through the snowdrifts, her small body fighting against the wind. She made it maybe 20 feet before she fell, and this time, she didn't get up. Marcus reached her in seconds. He dropped to his knees, stripping off his jacket, wrapping it around her shaking shoulders. Her skin was ice. Her breathing was shallow. Hypothermia was setting in. It's okay, I've got you. He pulled her against his chest, sharing body heat. Can you tell me your name? Emma. Her teeth chattered so hard she could barely form the word. Emma Collins. Hi, Emma. I'm Marcus, and this is Ranger. The dog had arrived beside them, pressing his warm body against the girl's side. We're going to get you somewhere safe, okay? He left me. Emma's voice cracked.
He said I was too much trouble. He said Mom would be better off without me.
Marcus felt something dark and dangerous stir in his chest.
Who left you? Who was that man? My stepdad, Derek. Where's your mom? At home. She's sick.
Emma's eyes filled with fresh tears.
Derek said he was taking me to get medicine, but then he stopped and...
She couldn't finish. Marcus gathered her up and started back toward his truck. His mind was racing. An 8-year-old girl abandoned on a mountain road in a blizzard. No survival gear. No communication. Left to die. This wasn't an accident. This was attempted murder. He got Emma into the truck, blasted the heat, and wrapped her in the emergency blanket from his survival kit. Ranger jumped into the back seat and curled around her, adding his warmth to hers. Stay with me, Emma. Keep talking. Tell me about your mom.
Her name's Sarah.
Emma's voice was growing stronger as the warmth seeped into her bones.
She's been sick for a long time. Ever since she married Derek.
What kind of sick?
I don't know. She gets dizzy. Throws up a lot.
The doctors can't figure it out. Emma looked at him with 2 old eyes.
But she only gets sick when Derek makes her special tea.
Marcus's hands froze on the steering wheel. Special tea?
He makes it every morning. Says it's good for her nerves.
Emma shivered, but not from cold this time.
I tried to tell her, but she won't listen. She loves him. She thinks he loves her too.
The pieces clicked together in Marcus's mind with sickening clarity. The sick wife. The helpful husband. The stepdaughter who noticed too much. Derek wasn't just trying to get rid of Emma. He was trying to kill them both. Emma, I need you to think very carefully. Does your mom have any family? Anyone she trusts besides Derek?
My grandma, but she lives far away. Derek said she wasn't welcome anymore.
Emma's lower lip trembled.
He said a lot of people weren't welcome anymore.
What about friends? Does your mom have friends?
She used to, but Derek got mad when she talked to them, so she stopped.
Classic isolation tactics. Marcus had seen it before, in different contexts. Cult leaders, abusers, manipulators of all kinds. Cut off the support system, make the victim dependent, then take control. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Marcus pulled out his phone. No signal. Of course not. They were in the middle of nowhere during a blizzard. We're going to find someplace warm and safe, and then we're going to call for help.
You can't take me to Derek, please.
Emma grabbed his arm, her small fingers digging in with desperate strength.
Please don't take me back to him.
I'm not taking you anywhere near that man. Marcus met her eyes. I promise you, Emma. On my life, I promise. She stared at him for a long moment, assessing him with the survival instincts of a child who had learned not to trust adults. Then she nodded.
Okay.
Marcus put the truck in gear and started driving. The storm was getting worse, visibility dropping to near zero. He needed to find shelter, establish communication, and figure out his next move. But one thing was already clear. Derek Collins had made a terrible mistake. He'd left a witness. The town appeared through the white curtain like a mirage. Ridgeview, Montana. Population 847. 1 gas station, 1 diner, 1 motel, and a county sheriff's substation that probably hadn't seen real crime since the Nixon administration. Marcus pulled into the motel parking lot. The Pines Motor Lodge, according to the flickering neon sign. Vacancy. Of course there was vacancy. No one in their right mind was traveling in this weather. Stay here with Ranger, he looked at Emma. I'm going to get us a room. You'll be able to see me the whole time through that window, okay? Emma nodded, one hand buried in Ranger's fur. The motel office smelled like cigarettes and desperation. An older woman sat behind the counter, watching a small TV with the sound turned low. "Need a room," Marcus said. She looked up, squinting at his military uniform, then at the truck visible through the window. "How many nights?" "1, maybe 2. Depends on the storm." "$45 a night, cash only. Power's been flickering." Marcus paid, took the key, asked the question he'd been dreading. "Is there a sheriff's deputy in town?" The woman's expression shifted. "Deputy Warren. He's usually at the diner this time of night." She paused. "Why? You in some kind of trouble?" "Not me, but I need to report something." He didn't elaborate. Couldn't afford to, not yet. Small towns talked, and if Derek Collins had any connections here. "The diner's 2 blocks east. Can't miss it." "Thanks." Marcus got Emma and Ranger into the motel room, which was exactly as depressing as he'd expected. But it was warm, and it had a lock, and right now, that was enough. "I need to go talk to the police," he told Emma. "Ranger's going to stay here with you. He won't let anyone through that door." "What if Derek finds us?" "He won't. But what if he does?" Marcus knelt so he was at her eye level. "Emma, Ranger spent 4 years protecting soldiers in Afghanistan. He can handle anything. And I'll be back in 15 minutes. 20 at the most." "You promise?" "I promise." She didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue. Marcus gave Ranger the guard command, a German phrase they'd used in the service, and the dog's posture shifted immediately. Alert, watchful, ready. "Good boy. Protect her." Ranger's eyes never left the door. The diner was nearly empty. 2 truckers sat at the counter, nursing coffee and waiting out the storm. A waitress in her 60s moved between them with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done this job for decades. And in the corner booth, a man in a tan deputy's uniform sat with a half-eaten plate of meatloaf. Marcus approached. "Deputy Warren?" The man looked up. He was in his 40s, with tired eyes and a gut that suggested too many meals exactly like this one. "That's me. Help you with something?" "I need to report a crime. A serious one." Warren's eyebrows rose. He gestured to the seat across from him. "Sit down. Tell me what happened." Marcus sat. He kept his voice low, controlled, but the words came out with an edge he couldn't quite suppress. "About an hour ago, I witnessed a man abandon an 8-year-old girl on Highway 93. In the middle of the blizzard. No coat, no supplies, nothing. Left her there to die." Warren's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "You're sure?" "I pulled her out of a snowdrift. Another 30 minutes, and she would have been dead from hypothermia." "Where is she now?" "Safe. In my motel room, with my dog." Warren set down his fork. His expression had shifted from skepticism to something harder. "Who's the man?" "Her stepfather. Name's Derek Collins. Drives a black SUV with Montana plates." Marcus recited the partial plate number he'd memorized. "She says her mother's been sick, and that her stepfather's been giving her special tea that makes it worse." "You think he's poisoning the wife?" "I think he tried to murder an 8-year-old girl tonight. I think the wife might be next." Marcus leaned forward. "This isn't a domestic dispute, Deputy. This is attempted homicide." Warren was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone and started typing. "Derek Collins. I know that name." His eyes widened. "Son of a bitch." "What?" "Derek Collins. His wife is Sarah Collins, formerly Sarah Mitchell." Warren looked up. She inherited the Mitchell family estate about 2 years ago when her father died. We're talking millions in property and investments. Half the county's been talking about it. The pieces snapped together. He's after her money. Has to be. But Sarah Mitchell was sharp. I knew her father, knew the whole family. She would have had protections in place, prenups, trusts, something. Unless she died before she could use them. Or unless she was too sick to manage her own affairs. Warren's jaw tightened. If she's incapacitated, her husband would get control. And if the daughter's out of the picture, he inherits everything. Warren stood, throwing money on the table. I'm going to call the state police. Get some deputies from the main station. But the roads are shot. It could be hours before anyone gets here. What about the wife, Sarah? The Collins place is about 15 miles outside town. In this weather, getting there is going to be dangerous. I've driven through worse. Warren studied him. You military? Navy SEAL. 14 years. Something shifted in the deputy's expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition of what that meant. The state boys are going to want to handle this by the book. Warrants, procedures, all that. And while they're doing paperwork, Sarah Collins could be drinking her morning tea. Warren hesitated. Then he sighed. I can't officially tell you to do anything, but if someone happened to check on the Collins residence, make sure everything was okay, that would be a concerned citizen doing his civic duty. Marcus stood. Directions? I'll do you one better. Warren grabbed his coat. I'll take you there myself. They drove through the white hell in Warren's patrol vehicle. Chains on the tires, emergency lights cutting through the swirling snow. Marcus had left Emma at the motel, with strict instructions. Lock the door, don't open it for anyone but him. And if anything happened, hide in the bathroom with Ranger. She'd agreed with the quiet resignation of a child who had learned that safety was temporary. Tell me about the family, Marcus said. Everything you know. Warren kept his eyes on the road. Sarah Mitchell was local royalty. Her father built the Mitchell lumber empire, employed half the county at its peak. When he died, everything went to Sarah. The business, the land, the house, had to be worth 10, 15 million easy. And then Derek showed up. About 6 months after her father's funeral, smooth talker from out of state, said he was in real estate development, looking to invest in the area. Warren's grip tightened on the wheel. Everyone thought Sarah was smart enough to see through him. But grief does funny things to people. They got married fast. 3 months after they met, the whole town was talking. Warren shook his head. After that, Sarah started pulling away, stopped coming to community events, stopped seeing her friends, and then she got sick. Did anyone suspect? Suspect what? That her new husband was poisoning her? Nobody thinks that way. Not in a place like this. We figured it was stress, or maybe something she inherited from her dad. Warren's voice turned bitter. We should have looked harder. The Collins house appeared through the storm. It was massive, a sprawling log estate that probably cost more than Marcus would earn in a lifetime. Lights were on in the downstairs windows. A black SUV sat in the circular driveway. Derek was home. How do you want to play this? Marcus asked. Carefully. We don't have a warrant, and we don't have probable cause for entry. Not legally, anyway. Warren pulled to a stop behind the SUV. But we can knock on the door, ask about Emma, see how he reacts. And if he reacts badly? Then we improvise. They approached the front door together. Warren knocked, 3 solid raps that echoed into the house. Footsteps. The door opened. Derek Collins was exactly what Marcus expected. Mid-40s, handsome in a practiced way, with the kind of smile that probably worked on most people. His expression shifted when he saw the deputy's uniform. Surprise, quickly masked. Deputy Warren, what brings you out in this weather? Evening, Mr. Collins. Sorry to bother you, but we had a report about a child being left on Highway 93, 8-year-old girl. Warren kept his voice neutral. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? Derek's smile flickered, just for a second. A child? No, I don't think so. Why would you ask me? Because the girl identified herself as Emma Collins, your stepdaughter. The mask slipped. Marcus saw fear, then calculation, then the smooth return of charm. Emma? No, she's right here.
Upstairs in her room. Derek stepped back, gesturing into the house.
You must have gotten some wires crossed. Please, come in and see for yourself. Warren glanced at Marcus. Marcus shook his head slightly. Emma wasn't in that house. She was safe at the motel, which meant Derek was about to pretend she was here, or... Actually, I'd appreciate that. Warren stepped inside, just to clear everything up. The house was warm, expensively furnished, and utterly silent. No sounds of a child playing, no TV, no music, just the creak of floorboards and the howl of wind outside. Sarah? Derek called up the stairs. Honey, the deputy is here. He wants to see Emma. No response. She's probably sleeping. She hasn't been feeling well. Derek's smile stayed fixed, but his eyes were getting nervous. Let me go check. He started up the stairs. I'll come with you, Marcus said. Derek turned. His gaze lingered on Marcus's military uniform, then moved to his face.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I didn't give it. Something passed between them. Recognition. Understanding. Two predators sizing each other up. Sarah's room is this way, Derek said tightly. They found her in the master bedroom. She was lying in bed, pale and thin, barely conscious. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes glazed. On the nightstand sat a teacup, still half full, still steaming. Sarah? Warren moved to her bedside. Mrs. Collins, can you hear me? Her eyes flickered. Who's there? It's Deputy Warren. We met at the church social last year. Warren. She tried to focus. Something's wrong. I can't think straight. Marcus picked up the teacup, sniffed it. His jaw tightened. What's in this? Just chamomile. Derek's voice was too casual. For her nerves. Her nerves don't need chamomile. They need a hospital. Marcus looked at Warren. She's being drugged, possibly poisoned. We need to get her out of here, now. You can't just... Derek stepped forward, his mask finally cracking. This is my home, my wife. You have no right... I have every right. Marcus set down the cup and faced him. Because an hour ago, I pulled your stepdaughter out of a snowdrift where you left her to die. And right now, your wife is barely conscious from whatever poison you've been feeding her. So here's what's going to happen. He stepped closer. Derek stepped back. You're going to sit down. You're going to shut up. And you're going to wait while the deputy calls for medical assistance and backup. Marcus's voice was quiet, but every word carried the weight of 14 years of combat. And if you try to run or fight or do anything other than exactly what I tell you, I will end you. Understood? Derek's face had gone white. This is insane. I'm calling my lawyer. Call whoever you want, but do it sitting down. For a moment, Derek looked like he might try something. His eyes darted to the door, to the window, calculating escape routes. Then Warren's hand moved to his holster. Sit down, Mr. Collins. Now. Derek sat. Marcus turned back to Sarah, his voice softening. Mrs. Collins, we're going to get you help. But I need to ask you something important. Do you know where Emma is? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Emma. Derek took her. Said he was taking her to the pharmacy. But that was hours ago, and... She tried to sit up. Failed. Where's my daughter? Where's my baby? She's safe. I found her. She's safe. The relief that washed over Sarah's face was almost painful to witness. Thank God. Thank God. She grabbed Marcus's hand with surprising strength.
Don't let him near her. Promise me, whatever happens, don't let him near my little girl."
Marcus squeezed her hand. "I promise." 2 hours later, the house was swarming with state police. They'd found enough evidence in the first 30 minutes to arrest Derek on multiple charges: attempted murder, child endangerment, assault, and probably more to come once they tested Sarah's blood and the contents of that tea. EMTs had taken Sarah to the hospital in a specialized transport vehicle equipped for the storm. She was conscious now, crying, asking for Emma every few minutes. Marcus had called the motel. Emma was fine. Scared, but fine. Ranger had stood guard the entire time, not letting anyone approach the door until Marcus gave the all-clear command over the phone. "You did good tonight." Marcus turned. Warren stood beside him, watching the police process the scene. "I got lucky. If I hadn't been on that road at that exact moment." "But you were. And you acted." Warren shook his head. "Most people wouldn't have. Most people would have convinced themselves they didn't see what they saw, or called it in and let someone else handle it. But you got out of your truck in a blizzard and saved that little girl's life." Marcus thought about Emma's face when he'd found her. The terror, the resignation, the way she'd run from him, assuming he was just another threat in a world full of threats. She shouldn't have had to be saved. Someone should have noticed sooner. "Yeah," Warren sighed. "We all should have noticed sooner." A state police detective approached. "Mr. Kane, we're going to need a full statement. Probably take a few hours." "Fine. But first, I need to get Emma. She shouldn't be alone any longer than necessary." "Bring her to the station. We'll need her statement too, but we'll have a child advocate present. And afterward," the detective glanced at Warren, "we'll figure out placement." "Placement?" "Foster care. CPS. Until we can locate family members or—" "No." The word came out sharper than Marcus intended. "She's not going into the system. Not tonight." "Sir, I understand your concern, but there are procedures. She's 8 years old. She was almost murdered by the only father figure she's ever known. And you want to put her in a strange house with strange people while her mother's in the hospital?" Marcus shook his head. "I'll stay with her, as long as it takes." The detective hesitated. Warren stepped in. "I can vouch for him. Navy SEAL, 14 years of service. He's the one who found her, the one who brought all this to light. If he says he'll watch her, I believe him." "That's not how this works." "Then make it work." Marcus's voice went flat. "Because that little girl has been through enough. She doesn't need bureaucracy right now. She needs someone she trusts." The detective looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Fine. Temporary arrangement. But you're responsible for her until we sort this out." "Understood." Marcus drove back to the motel through roads that were finally starting to clear. When he opened the door, Ranger was exactly where he'd left him, positioned between Emma and the entrance, alert and watchful. The dog's tail wagged once when he saw Marcus, but he didn't leave his post until Marcus gave the release command. "Good boy. Stand down." Ranger relaxed. Emma, who had been curled up on the bed with the emergency blanket wrapped around her, sat up slowly. "Is my mom okay?" "She's at the hospital. She's going to be fine." Marcus sat down on the edge of the bed. "And Derek is in jail. He's never going to hurt either of you again." Emma's face crumpled. The tears came then, not the frozen, terrified tears from before, but the hot, heaving sobs of a child finally releasing the weight she'd been carrying. Marcus didn't know what to do. He wasn't good with kids. He wasn't good with emotions. He'd spent 14 years learning how to break things, not fix them. But when Emma reached for him, he pulled her into his arms and held her while she cried. "It's okay," he murmured. "It's okay. You're safe now." Ranger moved closer, pressing against both of them, adding his warmth to the circle. "I was so scared. Emma whispered.
I thought I was going to die. I thought nobody would find me.
I found you.
Why? She looked up at him with red, swollen eyes. You don't even know me. Why did you stop?
Marcus thought about the question, thought about all the easy answers he could give. It was the right thing to do. Anyone would have done the same. It was basic human decency. But none of those felt true enough. Because when I was young, someone helped me when I had nobody else. A stranger who didn't have to care, but did anyway. He smoothed Emma's hair back from her face.
I made a promise a long time ago that if I ever got the chance, I'd do the same for someone else.
What happened to the person who helped you? She became my mother, adopted me when I was 10. Marcus smiled slightly at the memory. Changed my whole life. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Are you going to stay? Until my mom gets better? As long as you need me. Promise? Promise. She settled against his chest, exhaustion finally overtaking her. Within minutes, her breathing had slowed into the rhythm of sleep. Marcus sat there in the dim motel room, holding a child he'd known for less than 6 hours, feeling something crack open in his chest that had been sealed shut for years. He'd come to Montana looking for peace, looking for a place to heal after 14 years of war. He hadn't expected to find another fight. But as Emma's small hand gripped his shirt, even in sleep, Marcus understood something important.
Some fights were worth having, and some people were worth protecting.
Ranger shifted closer, resting his head on Marcus's knee. Outside, the storm was finally starting to fade. But inside, something new was just beginning. Emma woke screaming at 3 in the morning. Marcus was off the couch and at her bedside in seconds, his combat reflexes overriding sleep. Ranger was already there, pressing his warm body against her side, whimpering softly.
He's coming back,
Emma thrashed in the sheets. He's going to find me. Emma, look at me. Marcus took her shoulders gently. You're safe. Derek is in jail. He can't hurt you. Her eyes were wild, unfocused, still trapped in whatever nightmare had seized her. Then they found his face, and slowly, the terror began to fade. Marcus? I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. She threw her arms around his neck, clinging to him with desperate strength. I dreamed he came to the motel. He had a key.
He was smiling, that smile he always smiles when he's about to do something bad.
Her voice dropped to a whisper. He said nobody escapes him. He said he always wins. Marcus held her, feeling her small body tremble against his chest. It was just a dream. He's locked up. There are police officers watching him right now. You don't understand. Emma pulled back, her eyes suddenly too old for her face. Derek has friends, important friends. He always said that money can make anything go away.
Not this time.
That's what my mom thought too. When she first started getting sick, and I told her Derek was putting things in her tea, Emma's voice cracked. She didn't believe me. She said I was being dramatic. She said Derek loved us. Marcus felt cold settle into his bones. Did you tell anyone else? I tried to tell my teacher, Mrs. Patterson, but when she called Derek about it, Emma stopped. Her hands were shaking. He told everyone I was a troubled child, that I made up stories for attention, that my real dad leaving had damaged me. And they believed him. Everyone believes Derek. The bitterness in her voice was far too adult. He's handsome and rich and charming. He knows exactly what to say to make people trust him. And I'm just a kid. Marcus processed this. Derek Collins wasn't just a poisoner and a would-be child killer. He was a skilled manipulator who had spent years building a facade of respectability, which meant bringing him down wouldn't be simple. His phone buzzed. Deputy Warren. Kane, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Derek Collins made bail an hour ago. Marcus's blood turned to ice. That's impossible. He tried to murder a child. He was poisoning his wife. His lawyer argued that the charges were based on circumstantial evidence and the testimony of a traumatized 8-year-old. Warren's voice was tight with frustration. The judge set bail at $200,000. Derek paid it in cash. Who's the judge? Harold Morrison. He's been on the bench for 20 years. Warren paused. He also happens to be Derek's golfing buddy. Emma had told him. Derek had important friends. Money made things go away. Where is he now? Unknown. He's supposed to stay within county limits, but we don't have the resources to monitor him constantly. Not with the storm cleanup ongoing. Marcus looked at Emma, who was watching him with those two knowing eyes. I need to move her. If he made bail, he might try to finish what he started. Agreed. I'll send a deputy to escort you to a safer location. There's a cabin outside town that we use for witness protection sometimes. It's off the grid. Hard to find. How long until the deputy arrives? 20 minutes, maybe 30, depending on road conditions. Make it faster. He hung up and turned to Emma. We need to go.
Pack whatever you brought.
I didn't bring anything. Her voice was small. Derek made me leave everything behind. Of course he did. No evidence, no personal items, nothing to identify her body if she died in that blizzard. Then we travel light. Marcus was already moving, gathering his survival gear, checking the window. Ranger, guard! The dog took position by the door, hackles raised. Is Derek coming? Emma asked. Marcus didn't want to lie to her. She'd been lied to enough.
He got out of jail, but we're going somewhere safe, and I won't let him near you.
Promise? Promise. They moved fast. Marcus swept the parking lot before exiting, checking for any vehicles that didn't belong. The snow had stopped, leaving the world blanketed in white and deceptively peaceful. His truck started on the first try. Get in the back. Stay low. Ranger with her. Emma obeyed without question. Ranger jumped in beside her, positioning his body as a shield. Marcus had just pulled out of the parking lot when he saw headlights in his rearview mirror. A black SUV. Montana plates. Emma, whatever happens, stay down. Don't look up. He kept his speed steady, not wanting to alert the pursuer that he'd been spotted. The SUV maintained its distance, about 50 yards back, matching his turns, his pace, his route. Definitely following. Marcus pulled out his phone and called Warren. I've got a tail. Black SUV. Looks like Derek's vehicle.
That's impossible. We impounded his...
Warren stopped. Wait, hold on. Marcus heard typing. Derek owns 4 vehicles registered in Montana. We only impounded 1. Now you tell me. I'm dispatching units. Can you lose him? I can try, but I've got a child in the vehicle. I'm not going to risk a high-speed chase. Understood. Keep heading toward town. We'll intercept. Marcus hung up and checked the mirror again. The SUV was closer now, accelerating. Emma, hold on to Ranger. This might get bumpy. He floored it. The truck's engine roared as they shot forward, snow spraying from the tires. Behind them, the SUV matched the acceleration, gained ground. Marcus took the next turn hard, the truck fishtailing on the icy road. He corrected, kept control, pushed harder. Another turn, another spray of snow. The SUV was right behind them now, close enough that Marcus could see the driver's face in his headlights. It wasn't Derek. It was someone younger, harder, with the cold eyes of a professional. This wasn't just about a jealous stepfather anymore. Emma, when I say go, I need you to cover your ears and close your eyes. Can you do that? Yes? Her voice was steady, braver than most adults he'd known. Good girl. Marcus waited until they hit a straightaway, then slammed the brakes. The SUV barely avoided rear-ending them, swerving wildly to the left. As it passed, Marcus saw what he needed. A man in the passenger seat reaching for something that looked very much like a weapon. He stomped the gas and cut right, down a side road he'd noticed on the drive in. The truck bounced over unplowed snow, suspension screaming in protest. "Go, Emma! Cover up!" He rolled down his window and drew his sidearm. The SUV had recovered and was coming up fast behind them. Marcus aimed for the front tire and squeezed. The shot was perfect. The tire exploded. The SUV jerked violently to one side, crashed through a snowbank, and came to rest against a tree. Marcus didn't slow down. 5 minutes later, they reached the deputy who had been dispatched to meet them. Warren himself was driving. "What the hell happened?" Warren demanded, as Marcus pulled alongside. "We had visitors, black SUV, 2 men inside, professional types." "Professional? You mean—" "I mean someone hired muscle to finish what Derek started." Marcus's jaw was tight. "This isn't just about an inheritance anymore. Whatever Derek's involved in, it's bigger than domestic violence." Warren's face went pale. "Follow me. We need to get her somewhere safe." The cabin was exactly what Warren had promised. Remote, unmarked, accessible only by a single road that could be easily monitored. Marcus carried Emma inside, while Ranger swept the perimeter. The girl hadn't spoken since the chase, her shock giving way to a kind of numbed silence that worried him more than tears would have. "Emma," he set her down on the cabin's small couch. "Look at me." She did. Her eyes were glassy. "What you saw back there, that wasn't normal. I need you to understand that. Most people never experience anything like that." "But I did." Her voice was flat. "I've been experiencing things like that my whole life. My real dad hit my mom. Derek pretended to be nice, but he was worse. And now there are men with guns chasing us." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Maybe I'm cursed." "You're not cursed." Marcus took her hands. "You're unlucky. There's a difference. Curses are forever. Luck can change." "How do you know?" "Because I was unlucky too, once. I grew up in foster homes. Never knew my real parents. Thought nobody would ever want me." He squeezed her hands. "Then somebody did, and everything changed." Emma studied his face, looking for the lie, finding none. "The person who adopted you?" Her name was Margaret. She was a retired teacher who had never had kids of her own. She took me in when I was 10 years old and convinced me that I deserved love. Marcus smiled at the memory. "She died 3 years ago. Cancer. But every good thing in my life started with her." "Do you miss her?" "Every day." Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she leaned forward and hugged him. "I'm glad you were on that road," she whispered. "I'm glad you found me." "Me too, kid. Me too." Warren returned from securing the perimeter. "We need to talk, without—" He glanced at Emma. "There's a bedroom in back," Marcus said. "Emma, why don't you try to get some sleep? Ranger will stay with you." She didn't argue. She was exhausted, emotionally and physically. Within minutes, she was curled up on the bed with Ranger beside her, the dog's watchful eyes never leaving the door. Marcus turned to Warren. "Tell me. I did some digging while you were on the run. Derek Collins doesn't exist." "What?" "The man you met tonight? His real name is David Kessler. He's got a record in 3 states. Fraud, embezzlement, identity theft. He spent 4 years in federal prison before he got out and reinvented himself." Marcus felt the pieces clicking together. "He's a con man. A professional one. He targets wealthy widows and divorcees, marries them, and bleeds them dry. If they get suspicious, he—" Warren didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. "How many?" We found connections to 4 dead women in the past decade, all wealthy. All died of natural causes after sudden illnesses. Warren's voice was grim. Sarah Mitchell would have been number 5. And Emma? An inconvenience. The previous victims didn't have children, or they were adults who had already been estranged. Warren shook his head. Emma saw too much, asked too many questions. She had to go. Marcus thought about the men in the SUV, the professional muscle. He's not working alone. No, we think he's connected to a larger operation. Maybe organized crime. Maybe a network of con artists. Either way, these people have resources, and they don't leave loose ends. So they'll keep coming. Yes. Marcus stared at the wall, his mind running scenarios. In Afghanistan, he'd learned that the best defense was often a good offense. Waiting for the enemy to attack gave them all the advantages. What do we know about his operation, his contacts? Almost nothing. The man's a ghost. Multiple identities, no fixed address, bank accounts that exist only on paper. Warren pulled out a folder. But there's one thing. A name that keeps coming up in his communications. Someone called the broker. Who is he? No idea. But based on context, he seems to be the one who sets Derek up with targets. Provides him with background information, financial details, everything he needs to run his cons. So if we find the broker, we find the whole network. Warren nodded. But that's federal territory, FBI, maybe even international. This is way beyond what a county deputy can handle. Then let's call in the feds. Already done. Agent Reyes from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit is on her way. Should be here by morning. Warren paused. But until then, we're on our own. Marcus checked his weapon. I've been on my own before. This isn't Afghanistan, Kane. No, it's worse. He looked toward the bedroom where Emma slept. In Afghanistan, I was protecting strangers. Here, I'm protecting someone who matters. The night passed in tense silence. Marcus took the first watch, while Warren caught a few hours of sleep on the couch. Ranger alternated between guarding Emma and patrolling the cabin's perimeter, his instincts sharp despite his age. At 4 a.m, Marcus's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered cautiously. Hello? Mr. Kane, or should I say, Petty Officer First Class Kane? 14 years of distinguished service, 3 Bronze Stars, Purple Heart. The voice was smooth, cultured, with a faint accent Marcus couldn't place. Very impressive resume. Who is this? Someone who appreciates talent, and who recognizes when a business arrangement has become complicated. You're the broker. Silence. Then a soft laugh. David talks too much. Always has. It's his biggest weakness. A pause. Well, that and his temper. Which brings us to our current situation. What do you want? I want to make you an offer, Mr. Kane. A generous one. The broker's voice turned businesslike. Walk away. Take the girl to child services. Let the system handle her. Forget everything you've seen and heard. In return, I'll ensure that you're compensated handsomely for your discretion. Shall we say $500,000? Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. You're trying to buy me off. I'm trying to save your life. David has become a liability, and his associates are not known for their patience. If you continue down this path, they will kill you, and the girl, and anyone else who gets in their way. The broker's voice softened. I'm offering you a way out, a chance to survive. Take it. Let me make you a counter-offer. Marcus kept his voice flat. Turn yourself in, testify against your network, and maybe the FBI will let you live out your days in a minimum security facility instead of Supermax. Another laugh, shorter this time. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'm dealing with cowards who prey on women and children. I've dealt with worse." "Have you?" The broker's voice went cold. "Ask yourself this, Mr. Kane. How did David know which road you would take tonight? How did his men find you so quickly in a blizzard, in a town you'd never visited before?" Marcus's blood chilled. "Someone told them. Someone has been telling them everything. From the moment you pulled that girl from the snow, someone has been watching, reporting, making sure we knew exactly where you were and what you were doing. Warren. It had to be Warren. He was the only one who knew their movements. But Warren had risked his career to help them, had personally driven through a blizzard to escort them to safety, "I can see you're thinking," the broker said. "That's good. Smart men live longer." A pause. "But not always. Goodbye, Mr. Kane. I hope, for your sake, that this is not our last conversation." The line went dead. Marcus stood frozen, his mind racing. If there was a traitor, it wasn't necessarily Warren. It could be anyone at the sheriff's department, a dispatcher who monitored their radio calls, a deputy who overheard their conversations, a civilian clerk with access to case files. Anyone. He moved to the window and looked out at the darkness. Somewhere out there, enemies were watching, waiting, planning their next move. And somewhere in his circle of trust, one of those enemies was hiding in plain sight. Who was that? Marcus turned. Warren was awake, hand on his weapon. Wrong number. He didn't know if that was true. He didn't know if Warren could be trusted. But he knew one thing for certain. The real fight hadn't even started yet. Dawn broke gray and cold. Marcus made coffee while Warren checked in with the station. Emma was still sleeping. Ranger curled protectively at her feet. "FBI agent is en route," Warren said, hanging up. "Should be here within the hour." "Good. The sooner we hand this off to the professionals, the better." "You don't sound happy about that." Marcus poured 2 cups of coffee. "I don't trust anyone right now. Including me?" The question hung in the air between them. "I got a call last night," Marcus said finally, "from someone claiming to be the broker. He knew things. Our route, our timing, our location." He met Warren's eyes. "Someone in your department is feeding them information." Warren's face went pale, then red with anger. "That's a serious accusation. It's a serious situation. And you think it's me?" "I think I don't know who it is, which means I can't rule anyone out." Marcus sipped down his coffee. "Including myself, for that matter. Maybe I was followed. Maybe my phone was tracked. Maybe you're being paranoid. Maybe I'm being careful. There's a difference." Warren stared at him for a long moment. Then he laughed, a short, bitter sound. "You know what? I don't blame you. In your position, I'd be suspicious too." He pulled out his badge and set it on the table. "I've been a deputy for 18 years. I've got 2 kids, a mortgage, and a pension I can't afford to lose. If I was dirty, I'd have been bought off a long time ago." "That doesn't prove anything." "No, it doesn't. But here's what does." Warren pulled out his phone and showed Marcus the screen. "I ran background checks on everyone in the department who knew about this case. 3 deputies, 2 dispatchers, 1 records clerk. And the records clerk, Linda Morrison. She's the judge's daughter." Marcus felt the pieces clicking together. "The same judge who let Derek out on bail." "The same." Warren's voice was tight. "Harold Morrison has been on Hargrove's payroll for years. Campaign contributions, vacation packages, the whole corrupt package. And his daughter has access to every case file in the county. So she's been feeding information to the broker. That's my theory. And if I'm right, the FBI will be able to prove it." Warren picked up his badge and pinned it back on. Now can we please focus on keeping that little girl alive? Before Marcus could answer, Ranger started barking. Not his usual alert bark. This was different, urgent, warning. Marcus grabbed his weapon and moved to the window. 3 vehicles were coming up the road to the cabin. 2 black SUVs and a white van. "That's not the FBI," Warren said. "No." Marcus's jaw tightened. "That's the endgame." They had minutes, maybe less. "Get Emma. Back exit. Move now." Warren ran for the bedroom, while Marcus took position at the front window. The vehicles had stopped about 50 yards out. Men were emerging, 8, maybe 10, spreading out in a tactical formation. Professional. Organized. Armed. These weren't just hired muscle anymore. This was a kill team. Marcus fired through the window, dropping the point man before the others scattered for cover. Return fire shattered the glass around him. "Emma's up! We're moving!" Warren's voice came from the back of the cabin. "Go! I'll hold them!" Marcus kept firing, buying time. His 14 years of training kicked in. Controlled bursts, target acquisition, threat assessment. But he was one man against a small army. He couldn't hold them forever. A grenade crashed through the window. Marcus dove behind the couch as the explosion tore through the cabin. His ears rang. Smoke filled his lungs, but he was still alive, still fighting. "Ranger, to me!" The dog appeared through the smoke, unharmed, eyes blazing with the intensity of a warrior born for moments like this. "Track Emma, protect her, go!" Ranger hesitated for just a second, loyalty warring with training, then bolted for the back exit. Marcus turned back to face the kill team. They were breaching now, pouring through the destroyed front of the cabin. He dropped 2 more before his magazine ran dry. No time to reload. He drew his knife. The first man through died before he even saw the blade. The second managed to raise his weapon. Marcus broke his arm and used him as a shield against the third. Combat knife found the third man's throat. But there were more. Always more. A rifle butt caught him in the temple. The world went dark. Marcus woke to pain. His head throbbed where the rifle butt had connected. His wrists were bound behind his back. His ankles were zip-tied to a metal chair. Blood dripped from a cut above his eye, blurring his vision. But he was alive. That meant they wanted something. "He's awake." The voice came from somewhere to his left. Marcus turned his head slowly, fighting the dizziness, and found himself in what looked like an abandoned warehouse. Industrial. Cold. The kind of place where people disappeared. 3 men stood nearby. 2 he didn't recognize. Hired muscle, probably former military based on their posture. The third was Derek Collins. No, David Kessler. The mask was gone now. The charming smile, the concerned stepfather act, all of it stripped away to reveal what lay beneath. Cold eyes, cruel mouth, the face of a predator who had finally caught his prey. "Mr. Kane." Derek pulled up a chair and sat facing him. "Or should I call you Marcus? We're past formalities at this point." Marcus said nothing. "The silent treatment? Really? After everything we've been through?" Derek laughed softly. "I have to admit, you've been impressive. Most people would have driven past that little girl in the blizzard. Self-preservation, you know. But not you. You had to be a hero." "Where's Emma?" "Ah, there it is. The first words out of your mouth, and they're about her." Derek shook his head. "She really got under your skin, didn't she? 8 years old and already manipulating grown men. She's a child. She's a liability. Always has been." Derek's voice hardened. "Do you know how carefully I planned everything? The courtship, the marriage, the slow poisoning. It was perfect. Sarah was going to die of natural causes. I was going to inherit everything, and I would have been on a beach in Mexico by now. He leaned forward. Then little Emma started asking questions, started watching me, started telling her teachers that her new daddy was making mommy sick. So you decided to kill her? I decided to solve a problem. There's a difference. Derek stood and began pacing. The blizzard was a gift. Leave her on the road, let nature take its course. Claim she wandered off while I was getting medicine. Clean, simple, no evidence. Except me. Except you. Derek stopped pacing. A Navy SEAL of all people. 14 years of combat experience. The one man in a 100-mile radius who would actually stop and investigate. He laughed again, but there was no humor in it. Do you believe in fate, Marcus? Because I'm starting to think the universe has a very sick sense of humor. Marcus tested his bindings. The zip ties were tight, but not impossible. He'd escaped worse in Afghanistan. You're not going to get away with this. That's where you're wrong. Derek pulled out his phone and showed Marcus the screen. This is a wire transfer confirmation. $10 million, moving as we speak from Sarah's accounts to an offshore shell company. By the time anyone realizes what happened, I'll be on a private jet to somewhere without extradition treaties. Sarah's still alive. She'll report it. Sarah is in a hospital bed, barely conscious, with no idea what's happening to her finances. By the time she recovers, if she recovers, everything will be gone. Derek pocketed the phone. And as for Emma, well, you don't need to worry about her anymore. Marcus's blood turned to ice. What did you do? Nothing yet, but my associates are very good at finding people. Even people hiding in the woods with an old deputy and a dog. Derek smiled. It's just a matter of time. Marcus felt something shift inside him. The cold calculation of a soldier assessing his situation gave way to something hotter, more dangerous. If you hurt her, there is nowhere on this planet you can hide from me. Brave words from a man tied to a chair. I've been tied up before. I've been shot, stabbed, beaten, and left for dead in 3 different countries. And I'm still here. Marcus leaned forward, his voice dropping to something barely human. The men who did those things to me? They're not. For just a moment, something flickered in Derek's eyes. Fear. Then it was gone, replaced by bravado. Big talk, but you're not going anywhere. He gestured to his men. Keep him comfortable. I have a plane to catch. Derek walked toward the warehouse door. He was halfway there when Marcus spoke again. David Kessler, born March 15, 1978, in Toledo, Ohio. First arrest at 19 for check fraud. Second arrest at 23 for identity theft. Did 4 years in federal prison, where you learned everything you know about running cons. Derek stopped. Your first kill was Andrea Whitmore, Portland, 2015. Made it look like a heart attack. Second was Michelle Chen, Seattle, 2017. Stroke. Third was Patricia Reynolds, Denver, 2019. Complications from flu. Marcus's voice was flat, reciting facts like a case file. The FBI has files on all of them. They just couldn't prove the connection. Until now. Derek turned slowly. How do you know that? Because I'm not just some random stranger who happened to be on that road. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. I was sent here by Agent Reyes, Financial Crimes Unit. We've been building a case against you for 18 months. The color drained from Derek's face. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself, how did I know exactly which road you would take that night? How did I know exactly when you would stop? How did I know to be there at the exact moment you abandoned Emma? That's impossible. The blizzard was the only variable. We'd been planning to intercept you at the house, But the storm moved our timeline up. When you left early with Emma, we had to improvise. Marcus kept his voice calm, steady, letting every word sink in.
Your phone has been tapped for months, David. Your emails, your bank accounts, everything. We know about the broker. We know about the network. And right now, while you're standing here congratulating yourself, federal agents are arresting every single one of your associates. Derek's hand went to his pocket. His phone. Don't bother. The number you have for the broker is a dead line now. He was picked up 40 minutes ago in Phoenix. Marcus was bluffing. He had no idea if any of this was true. But Derek didn't know that. It's over. The only question is whether you want to cooperate and maybe see daylight again before you die, or spend the rest of your life in Supermax. For a long moment, Derek stood frozen. Then he pulled a gun from his waistband and pointed it at Marcus's head. Nice try. Derek, shut up. The gun trembled in his hand. You're lying. You have to be lying. There's no way the FBI could have known. Put the gun down, David. The new voice came from the warehouse door. Everyone turned. Agent Reyes stood there, flanked by 6 FBI agents in tactical gear. David Kessler, you're under arrest for murder, attempted murder, fraud, and about 40 other charges I'll let the prosecutors figure out. She kept her weapon trained on him. Put the gun down. Derek's face contorted through a dozen emotions in seconds. Fear, rage, desperation, calibration. Then he made his choice. He grabbed Marcus's chair from behind and pressed the gun to his temple. Back off, all of you, or I'll blow his brains out. You do that, you die 2 seconds later. Reyes didn't flinch. There's no scenario where this ends well for you, David. Let him go and we can talk about a deal. A deal? A deal? Derek laughed hysterically. You just told me I'm facing murder charges. Multiple murder charges. There's no deal that gets me out of that. Life without parole is better than death. Is it? The gun pressed harder against Marcus's skull. Is it really? Marcus felt the moment balance on a knife's edge. Derek was unraveling. Desperate men did desperate things, and in about 3 seconds, he was going to pull that trigger. Time to move. Marcus threw his weight backward, slamming his chair into Derek's legs. The gun discharged, the bullet whizzing past his ear, close enough to feel the heat, as both men crashed to the concrete floor. The chair shattered on impact. Marcus rolled free, his hands still bound, but his legs now loose. He came up just as Derek tried to aim again. 3 FBI agents fired simultaneously. Derek Kessler went down and didn't get up. Marcus lay on the cold concrete, breathing hard, his ears ringing from the gunshot. Agent Reyes appeared above him, cutting his zip ties with a combat knife. You okay? I've been better. He sat up slowly, rubbing his wrists. How much of what I said was actually true? Reyes smiled slightly. About 60%. We did have him under surveillance, but not for 18 months. More like 3 weeks. She holstered her weapon. The bit about the broker being arrested? That was news to me, but I appreciate the improvisation. It worked. It almost got you killed. Almost doesn't count. Marcus got to his feet. Where's Emma? Warren took her into the woods when they hit the cabin. We found them. Reyes's expression softened. The girl's fine. Scared, cold, but fine. The deputy protected her with his life. Took 2 bullets doing it. Marcus's stomach dropped. Warren? He's alive. Barely. They're airlifting him to St. Vincent's. Reyes touched his arm. He kept saying your name. Kept asking if you made it. I need to see Emma. She's asking for you, too. They found her in the back of an FBI vehicle, wrapped in a shock blanket. Ranger pressed against her side. The moment she saw Marcus, she burst into tears. You're alive. They said you might be dead.
Marcus pulled her into his arms and held her tight. "I'm okay. I'm right here." "I was so scared. When those men came to the cabin and started shooting," her voice broke. "Deputy Warren pushed me out the back and told me to run. He told Ranger to protect me. And then I heard more shooting, and I thought, shh, it's over now. It's all over." But even as he said the words, Marcus knew they weren't entirely true. Derek was dead, yes. The immediate threat was neutralized, but the broker was still out there. The network still existed, and Emma's mother was still in a hospital bed, poisoned, vulnerable. "Agent Reyes," Marcus looked up. "What's the status on Sarah Collins?" "She's stable. We have agents at the hospital now." Reyes's expression was grave. "The doctors think the poisoning was arsenic-based, long-term low-dose exposure. It's going to take months of treatment, but she should make a full recovery." "And the broker?" "Still at large, but with Derek dead, his operation is compromised. We've already flipped 2 of his associates. It's only a matter of time." "Time," Marcus shook his head. "That's what he said, too. That it was only a matter of time before his people found Emma. That's why we're moving her. Tonight." Reyes knelt to Emma's level. "Emma, how would you feel about taking a trip? Somewhere safe, with people who can protect you until your mom gets better." Emma looked at Marcus. "Is he coming?" "That's up to him." Marcus didn't hesitate. "I'm coming." Reyes nodded, as if she'd expected nothing less. "Then let's move. We've got a long drive ahead of us." They drove through the night, 3 FBI vehicles in convoy, taking back roads, avoiding cameras, staying off the grid. Emma slept in the back seat, her head in Marcus's lap, Ranger curled at their feet. Reyes was in the front seat, coordinating with other agents over a secure channel. From what Marcus could gather, they were heading to a safe house in Wyoming. Federal property, heavily defended, off all official records. The broker. Marcus kept his voice low, not wanting to wake Emma. "What do you actually know about him?" Reyes glanced back. "Less than we'd like. He's been running this network for at least a decade. Sets up cons, identifies targets, provides resources. Takes a cut of everything. Never gets his hands dirty personally." "But you have a name, a face?" "We have theories." Reyes was quiet for a moment. "The prevailing one is that he's former intelligence, CIA, maybe NSA, someone who knows how to stay invisible." "Great. A professional ghost. We'll find him. It might take years, but we'll find him." Reyes turned back to the road. "In the meantime, our priority is keeping Emma and her mother safe. Once Sarah recovers enough to testify, we'll have a solid case against the network. The broker will become a lot less invisible when all his accomplices are cutting deals. And if he comes after Emma before that, then he'll have to go through a lot of federal agents." Reyes paused. "And apparently, one very determined Navy SEAL." Marcus looked down at Emma's sleeping face. In the faint light from the dashboard, she looked peaceful, younger, almost like a normal 8-year-old who hadn't been abandoned in a blizzard by the man she was supposed to trust. "She doesn't deserve any of this." "No, she doesn't." Reyes's voice softened. "But she has you now, and from what I've seen, that counts for something." They arrived at the safe house just as dawn broke. It was a ranch property, isolated, with nothing but mountains and sky for miles in every direction. Armed agents patrolled the perimeter. Cameras covered every angle. If the broker tried to make a move here, he'd be walking into a fortress. Emma woke as Marcus carried her inside. "Where are we?" "Somewhere safe. For real this time." "Promise?" "Promise." He set her down in a bedroom that looked like it had been hastily prepared for a child. Fresh sheets, a few stuffed animals, books on the nightstand, government issue comfort. Ranger, stay with her. The dog took his position at the foot of the bed, eyes watchful.
Marcus?
Emma's voice was small. Yeah?
What happens now? When my mom gets better, do we go back home?
Marcus sat on the edge of the bed. I don't know yet. That's up to your mom and the FBI, and a lot of people who know more about this stuff than me.
But will you stay? Until I know?
He thought about his truck, parked somewhere in Montana with all his worldly possessions. He thought about the life he'd been living before this, drifting from place to place, no roots, no connections, just a man and his dog trying to outrun ghosts. He thought about Margaret, the woman who had adopted him at 10 years old and changed everything.
Yeah,
He said quietly.
I'll stay.
Emma smiled. It was the first real smile he'd seen from her.
Good.
She was asleep within minutes. Marcus found Reyes in the kitchen pouring coffee. There's something you should know, Reyes said without preamble. We picked up chatter an hour ago. The broker is on the move. Moving where? We don't know, but the timing is concerning. Reyes handed him a cup. He's been quiet for weeks, letting David handle the operational stuff.
Now suddenly he's active again? Right after we take down his prize earner?
He's cutting his losses.
Or he's planning something.
Reyes pulled out a tablet and showed him a series of intercepted communications. These are coded, but our analysts think they're instructions. Something about closing the account and final withdrawal. That sounds like a hit order. That's what we think, too. Reyes's expression was grim. The question is, who's the target? Marcus thought about it. Sarah. She's the only one who can testify about Derek's methods. If she dies before she can talk, the case against the network gets a lot weaker. That's our theory, too. We've tripled security at the hospital. Reyes paused. But there's another possibility. Emma. She witnessed the attempted murder. She's been with you for the entire investigation. She knows things, names, faces, methods. In court, her testimony could be devastating. Reyes met his eyes.
If the broker is smart, and he is, he might decide that eliminating her is worth the risk.
Marcus felt something cold settle into his bones. Then we don't give him the chance. That's the plan. But I need you to understand something, Marcus. Reyes set down her coffee. This safe house is secure. The agents here are the best we have. But the broker has resources we can't fully track. If he decides to make a move, I'll be ready. I know you will. Reyes studied him for a long moment. The girl trusts you, more than she trusts us, more than she trusts anyone. Whatever happens, don't let that trust be misplaced. I won't. Reyes nodded, satisfied. Get some rest. I have a feeling we're going to need it. But rest didn't come. Marcus sat by the window, watching the dawn light spread across the mountains, his mind running scenarios. The broker was out there, planning something. The only question was when and how he would strike. His phone buzzed. Unknown number.
He almost didn't answer. Then he did.
Mr. Kane. The voice was familiar, cultured, accented. It seems we keep finding ourselves in conversation. The broker. You should know this call is being traced. I'm aware, which is why I'll keep this brief. A pause. I'm going to offer you one more chance. Not to walk away. I know you won't do that. But to make a deal. I don't make deals with child killers. I've never killed a child. David got out of control. That was always his weakness. Emotion over logic. The broker's voice was cold, analytical. I'm offering you something valuable. Information. The names of every law enforcement official on my payroll. The location of every asset I control. Everything you'd need to dismantle my entire network. In exchange for what? The girl stays silent. She's 8 years old, young enough to forget, young enough to be convinced that what she saw was a dream or a misunderstanding. Another pause.
I'm not asking you to hurt her, just to redirect her testimony, make it less credible.
Marcus felt rage building in his chest. You want me to gaslight a child?
I want to end this quietly, without more bloodshed. David's dead. The network is compromised. I'm offering a clean break for everyone.
And if I refuse? Silence.
Then I'll have to pursue other options. Options that will be considerably less pleasant for everyone involved.
Is that a threat? It's a statement of fact. I've survived in this business for 15 years because I never leave loose ends. The broker's voice hardened. The girl is a loose end, Mr. Kane. One way or another, she will be dealt with. The only question is whether you help me do it cleanly or force me to do it the hard way. Marcus stood and walked to the bedroom door. He looked at Emma, sleeping peacefully, Ranger at her feet. I'm going to find you, he said quietly.
I don't know how long it will take. I don't know what it will cost. But I will find you. And when I do, I'm going to make sure you never threaten another child again.
Bold words. I've said them before, to men more dangerous than you. They're all dead now. Another silence. When the broker spoke again, his voice had changed, colder, more dangerous. Then we understand each other. Goodbye, Mr. Kane. This is our last conversation. The line went dead. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching Emma sleep, feeling the weight of what was coming. The broker would make his move. Maybe today, maybe next week, maybe next month. But he would come. And when he did, Marcus would be waiting. He'd made a promise to a frightened little girl on a frozen road. He intended to keep it, no matter what it cost. 3 weeks changed everything. Sarah Collins opened her eyes on a Tuesday morning, and for the first time in months, they were clear. Marcus was there when it happened. He'd been splitting his time between the safe house and the hospital, keeping Emma updated, keeping Sarah's doctors informed, keeping everyone connected across the miles of distance that the broker had forced between them. "Where's my daughter?" Sarah's voice was weak, but the words came out sharp, focused. The voice of a mother who had been fighting through poison to get back to her child. "She's safe, I promise."
Who are you? Marcus pulled his chair closer.
"My name is Marcus Kane. I'm the one who found Emma on the highway." Sarah's face crumpled. The tears came then, not the confused, drug-addled tears of the past weeks, but real ones. The kind that came from understanding exactly what had happened and what it meant.
He tried to kill her. Derek tried to kill my baby.
Yes.
And you stopped him.
Yes. Sarah reached for his hand. Her grip was stronger than he'd expected.
Is he dead?
Yes. Good. The word came out hard, certain. Good. She fell back asleep moments later, exhausted by even that brief conversation. But when Marcus called the safe house to update Emma, he could hear the change in his own voice. Hope. The first real hope he'd felt since that night on the frozen highway.
"Mom's awake?"
Emma's voice cracked over the phone.
"She's really awake?"
"She asked about you. First thing."
"Can I see her? Please, Marcus, can I?"
"Soon."
"The doctors want her stronger first, and Agent Reyes needs to make sure the route is secure."
He paused. "But soon, Emma. I promise."
"You promise a lot."
"And I keep every one." Silence on the line. Then, quietly,
"I know you do."
The call from Reyes came 2 hours later. "We got him." Marcus felt his heart skip. "The broker?" "In custody as of 40 minutes ago. Phoenix office picked him up trying to board a private jet to Costa Rica." Reyes's voice carried exhausted triumph. "His real name is Alexander Volkov, former CIA, just like we suspected. Went rogue 15 years ago and has been running cons ever since." "Is it solid? The arrest?" "Rock solid. We've got financial records, communications, witness testimony from 3 of his former associates who cut deals." Reyes paused. "And we've got something else. Something big." "What?" "Volkov kept insurance files. On everyone. Every corrupt cop, every crooked judge, every politician he ever bribed. Names, dates, amounts, everything." Her voice dropped. "Including Judge Morrison and his daughter. They're both in custody now." Marcus leaned against the hospital wall, letting the weight of it sink in. It was over. Really, truly over. What about Emma? Can she see her mother now? "We're arranging transport. Secure convoy, full protection. She'll be there by tonight." Reyes hesitated. "Marcus, I need to tell you something." "What?" "The Bureau wants to give you a commendation. Official recognition for your role in taking down the network. There's also talk of a consulting position, if you're interested." Marcus laughed, a short, surprised sound. "I'm not really the commendation type." "I told them that, but the offer stands." Another pause. "You did good, Kane. Better than good. Whatever you decide to do next, just know that a lot of people owe you their lives, including one very brave little girl. She's the brave one. I just happen to be on the right road at the right time. We both know it's more than that." The convoy arrived at the hospital at 1900 hours. Marcus waited at the entrance, Ranger at his side, watching as the black SUVs pulled into the secured lot. FBI agents swarmed out first, creating a perimeter. Then the rear door opened. Emma emerged slowly, looking around with wide eyes. She'd been at the safe house for 3 weeks, surrounded by strangers in a place she didn't know. Now she was here, minutes away from seeing her mother, and the fear and hope on her face were almost too much to witness. "Marcus!" She ran to him. He caught her, lifted her, held her tight. "Hey, kid. Ready to see your mom?" "Is she really okay? Is she really awake?" "She's been asking for you all day. Drove the nurses crazy." Marcus set her down and took her hand. "Come on, let's not keep her waiting." They walked through the hospital together. Marcus, Emma, Ranger, and a small army of federal agents who had become something like family over the past weeks. Doctors and nurses stepped aside, some of them smiling, all of them aware of what this moment meant. Sarah's room was at the end of the hall. Marcus stopped at the door. "I'll wait out here. This moment belongs to you two." Emma looked up at him. "You're not coming in?" "In a minute. But first, your mom needs to see that you're okay." "Just you." Emma squeezed his hand once, then pushed open the door. "Mommy?" Sarah's response was immediate, a cry of pure joy that Marcus could hear through the closed door. He leaned against the wall, Ranger pressing against his leg, and let himself feel something he hadn't felt in a very long time. Peace. Agent Reyes appeared beside him. "Beautiful thing, isn't it? Reunions." "Yeah." Marcus wiped his eyes. He wasn't ashamed of the tears. "Yeah, it is. The doctors say Sarah should be ready for discharge in about a week. After that, the Bureau will relocate them. New identities, new location, complete fresh start." "What about the Mitchell estate? The money Derek was after?" "Frozen pending investigation, but it'll be returned to Sarah once everything's sorted out. She'll have more than enough to build a new life." Reyes paused. "The question is, what happens to you?" Marcus had been avoiding that question for weeks. "I don't know yet." "Fair enough. Reyes pulled an envelope from her jacket. "But in case you need options, this is the official job offer I mentioned. Consulting position with the Bureau's Crimes Against Children unit. Good salary, flexible schedule, chance to do what you did here on a regular basis." Marcus took the envelope. "I'll think about it." "That's all I ask." The door to Sarah's room opened. Emma's face appeared, tears streaming, but smiling. "Mom wants to meet you. The man who saved me." Marcus straightened his jacket, smoothed his hair, and walked in. Sarah Collins looked different from the first time he'd seen her. The color was returning to her cheeks. Her eyes were clear, focused, alive. She was still thin, still weak, but the woman lying in that bed was a fighter, a survivor. "So you're Marcus Kane." Her voice was stronger now. "My daughter hasn't stopped talking about you for 3 weeks." "She's a special kid." "She is." Sarah's eyes filled with tears.
"And you saved her. You saved both of us."
"I just did what anyone would do."
"No."
Sarah shook her head firmly.
"That's not true, and we both know it. Most people drove past that night. Most people looked away. But you stopped. You got out of your truck in a blizzard, and you saved my daughter's life." Her voice cracked. "I can never repay that. Never."
"You don't have to repay anything. Just be a good mom. Get healthy. Give Emma the life she deserves."
"I will. I swear I will."
Sarah reached out and took his hand. "But there's something I need to ask you. Something important." "Anything." "Emma told me about Margaret, the woman who adopted you when you were 10. Sarah's grip tightened. "She said you've been alone since Margaret died. No family, no roots, just drifting." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "That's true." "It doesn't have to be." Sarah glanced at Emma, who was watching the exchange with barely contained hope. "We're starting over. New names, new place, new everything. And Emma needs stability. She needs someone she can count on. She has you, I know, but she also needs—" Sarah struggled for words. "A father figure. Someone who makes her feel safe. Someone she trusts." Her eyes met his. "She trusts you, Marcus. More than she's ever trusted any man in her life." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "What are you asking?" "I'm asking you to come with us. Not as a replacement for anything. I know you're not looking to be a father. I know you have your own life to live. But as family, part of our new beginning." Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. "Please, we need you." Marcus looked at Emma, at the hope blazing in her eyes, at the way Ranger had positioned himself between her and the door, protecting her even now. He thought about Margaret, about the way she had changed his life by simply refusing to give up on him, about the debt he had carried ever since, not to her, but to the universe. A debt to pass on what she had given him. He stopped, started again. "I don't know how to be part of a family." "Neither do we." Sarah smiled through her tears. "We can figure it out together." Emma couldn't contain herself anymore. She threw her arms around Marcus, burying her face in his chest. "Please say yes. Please, please, please." Marcus held her, looked at Sarah, made his decision. "Okay." "Okay?" Emma pulled back, eyes wide. "Really?" "Really?" He felt something crack open in his chest, something that had been sealed since Margaret's death. "I'm in. Whatever that means, wherever it takes us, I'm in." The next week passed in a blur of planning. Reyes coordinated with the Marshal Service to set up the relocation. New identities for Sarah and Emma. Sarah would become Sarah Mitchell again, reclaiming her maiden name, while Emma would be Emma Mitchell. A fresh start with an old foundation. Marcus declined the official witness protection, but agreed to relocate to the same area, a small town in northern Vermont, far from Montana, far from the memories, far from everything that had happened. "Vermont?" Deputy Warren asked when Marcus called to update him. "Kinda cold up there, isn't it?" "I've been cold before," Marcus smiled despite himself. "How are you healing?" "2 bullets, 1 punctured lung, and I still managed to keep that little girl safe." Warren laughed, then winced. "The doctors say I'll be back on duty in 3 months. Desk work at first, but still. You're a hero, you know. What you did at the cabin. What I did was my job, same as you." Warren's voice turned serious. "But I appreciate you saying it. And Marcus, whatever happens next, stay in touch. You're one of the good ones." "So are you, Deputy. So are you." The day before the move, Sarah was discharged from the hospital. She walked out on her own 2 feet, weak, shaky, but determined. Emma held one hand. Marcus walked beside them with Ranger. A small parade of survivors heading toward a new life. Agent Reyes met them at the exit. "Last chance to change your mind about the consulting job." "I've got a new job." Marcus glanced at Emma. "Full-time protector." "Fair enough." Reyes shook his hand. "But if you ever get bored with civilian life, call me. We can always use another SEAL." "I'll keep that in mind." They drove north. 3 days of travel through changing landscapes, from Montana's mountains to the rolling hills of the Midwest to the forests of New England. Emma sat in the back with Ranger, reading books, playing games on the tablet the FBI had given her, occasionally falling asleep with her head on the dog's warm side. Sarah rode in front, still weak but growing stronger with every mile. She and Marcus talked, really talked, for the first time since this all began. About Derek, about the marriage, about how she'd been so desperate for love after her father's death that she'd ignored every warning sign. "I should have listened to Emma," Sarah said on the second night, parked at a rest stop in Indiana. "She knew something was wrong. She kept trying to tell me, and I couldn't hear it." "You were being manipulated by a professional. That's not your fault." "Isn't it?" Sarah stared out the windshield. "I was so lonely, so desperate to not be alone. I let a monster into our lives because I couldn't face being by myself. We all make mistakes when we're hurting." "This wasn't a mistake. It was a catastrophe." Sarah's voice cracked. "He almost killed my daughter, Marcus. He drove her into a blizzard and left her to freeze to death. And I let him into our home. I let him—" "Stop." Marcus turned to face her. "You can spend the rest of your life blaming yourself, or you can spend it making things right. But you can't do both." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "How do you do it? Move past the things you've seen, the things you've done?" "One day at a time. Sometimes 1 hour at a time." Marcus looked back at Emma, asleep in the back seat. "And by focusing on what matters, on who matters." "She matters." "Yeah, she does." Vermont welcomed them with early spring snow. The house Reyes had arranged was small but comfortable, a 2-story cottage on 5 acres of wooded land, far from neighbors, far from prying eyes. It had 3 bedrooms, a big kitchen, and a porch that wrapped around the entire building. "It's perfect," Emma breathed, running up the front steps with Ranger bounding behind her. Marcus carried boxes while Sarah directed, her strength returning more each day. By nightfall, they had a semblance of a home. Beds made, kitchen stocked, the basic necessities of a new life in place. They ate dinner together that first night. Just the 3 of them and Ranger, gathered around a small table in a strange new kitchen, getting used to being a family. "What happens now?" Emma asked. "Now we rest," Sarah said, "and heal, and figure out who we want to be." "I know who I want to be." Emma looked at Marcus. I want to be brave. Like him. You already are, kid. Marcus reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Braver than you know. That night, after Emma was asleep and Sarah had gone to bed, Marcus sat on the porch with Ranger. The stars were different here, brighter somehow, without Montana's mountains to block the view. He thought about everything that had led to this moment. The blizzard, the child on the road, the conspiracy unraveling around them. He thought about Margaret and what she would say if she could see him now. You'd be proud, he said to the empty air. I hope. Ranger whined softly and pressed against his leg. Yeah, boy, I think so too. The weeks that followed were quiet. Not the tense, watchful quiet of the safe house, but the peaceful kind that comes from security, from belonging, from finally having a place to call home. Sarah grew stronger every day. She started cooking again, real meals, the kind she'd made before Derek, and the kitchen filled with smells that reminded Emma of happier times. She began seeing a therapist, processing what had happened, rebuilding herself from the inside out. Emma started school, a small local elementary where nobody knew her history, where she was just another kid in the 3rd grade. She made friends, joined the soccer team, came home with stories about teachers and classmates, and the boy who sat next to her in math class. And Marcus. Marcus found himself becoming something he'd never expected. A father. Not officially, not legally, but in every way that mattered, he was there, helping with homework, driving Emma to practice, teaching her how to throw a ball, how to defend herself, how to trust her instincts. You're good at this, Sarah said one evening, watching him help Emma with her science project. Better than you think. I'm just making it up as I go. That's what all parents do, she smiled. The good ones, anyway. Spring turned to summer. The nightmares faded, for Emma, for Sarah, even for Marcus. They were replaced by ordinary dreams, boring dreams, the kind of dreams that came from lives finally at peace. On the 1-year anniversary of that night on the highway, they gathered on the porch to mark the occasion. I don't want to celebrate what happened, Sarah said, but I do want to acknowledge it, to remember how far we've come. I remember being scared, Emma said quietly. More scared than I've ever been. The snow was so cold, and Derek was driving away, and I thought I was going to die. But you didn't. Marcus put his arm around her. You survived. And now look at you. Now look at us, Emma smiled up at him. All of us. Sarah raised her glass of lemonade. To second chances. To family, Marcus added. To being brave, Emma finished. They drank together as the sun set over Vermont, 3 survivors who had found each other in the worst moment of their lives and built something beautiful from the wreckage. Ranger barked once, as if adding his own toast. And to you too, boy, Marcus laughed. To all of us. Later that night, after Emma was asleep, Sarah found Marcus on the porch again. You're always out here. Old habit, watching the perimeter. Is there still something to watch for? Marcus considered the question. The broker, Volkov, was in prison, awaiting trial on dozens of charges. His network had been dismantled. The threat was over. But old instincts died hard. Probably not, but I like it out here anyway. The quiet, the stars. Sarah sat beside him. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you ever regret it? Stopping that night? Getting involved in our mess? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. No, never. Not for a single second. He looked at her. That night was the best thing that ever happened to me. I just didn't know it yet. How is almost dying in a blizzard the best thing that ever happened to you? Because it led me here, To you, to Emma, to a life I never knew I wanted. He reached over and took her hand. I spent 14 years serving my country. Another 2 years after that just drifting, looking for something without knowing what it was. And then I found it. In the middle of a snowstorm, on the side of a highway, Sarah's eyes glistened.
Marcus.
I love you, Sarah. Both of you. I know it's complicated. I know there's history. I know... She kissed him. It was soft, gentle, full of everything neither of them had been able to say. When they broke apart, both of them were crying.
I love you too, Sarah whispered. I've been afraid to say it. Afraid that if I let myself feel anything again, it would all fall apart.
It won't. I promise. You promise a lot, and I keep every one. They sat together in the darkness, holding hands, watching the stars wheel overhead. Two broken people who had found each other. Two survivors who had chosen to keep surviving. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new fears, new moments of doubt and struggle and growth. But tonight, they had this. And for now, this was enough. Ranger padded out onto the porch and settled at their feet, his head on Marcus's boot. Good boy, Marcus murmured. The dog's tail thumped once against the wooden boards. Above them, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the small dramas playing out below. But Marcus didn't feel small anymore. He felt exactly the right size, the size of a family. 2 years changed everything. The Vermont cottage had become a home in ways Marcus never imagined possible. What started as a safe house had transformed into something sacred, a place where laughter echoed through hallways, where Ranger's paws clicked across wooden floors chasing Emma, where the smell of Sarah's cooking filled every corner with warmth. Marcus woke that morning to find Emma standing in his doorway. "Happy Father's Day!" She launched herself onto his bed, holding a handmade card covered in glitter and crayon drawings. Ranger bounded in behind her, jumping up despite his age, tail wagging furiously. "Father's Day?" Marcus sat up, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Emma, I'm not—" "You are." Her voice was firm, certain. "Maybe not on paper, but in here." She pressed her hand against his chest. "You're my dad, the only real one I've ever had." Marcus felt his throat tighten. He opened the card. Inside, in Emma's careful handwriting, were words that would stay with him forever. "Dear Marcus, thank you for finding me in the snow. Thank you for keeping your promises. Thank you for teaching me that not all men hurt people. Some men protect them. I love you. Your daughter, Emma." He couldn't speak. The tears came before he could stop them. "Are you crying?" Emma leaned closer, concerned. "Is it bad crying or good crying?" "Good crying." He pulled her into a hug. "The best kind of crying." Sarah appeared in the doorway, holding a tray with coffee and pancakes shaped like dogs. "Breakfast in bed." Emma's idea. "The pancakes were my idea too," Emma grinned. "They're supposed to look like Ranger. They look like blobs." "Dad, they do not." Dad. The word hit Marcus like a wave every time she said it. He'd never get used to it. Never wanted to. "They look perfect," he said. "Just like everything else." The day unfolded in gentle rhythms. They ate breakfast together, then walked through the woods behind the property, the same walk they took every Sunday. Ranger leading the way, despite his graying muzzle. Emma chattered about school, about her friends, about the boy named Tyler who had asked her to the spring dance. "Tyler?" Marcus's protective instincts flared. "Who's Tyler?" "Just a boy. He's nice." Emma rolled her eyes. "Don't go all Navy SEAL on him." "I'm not going Navy SEAL. I'm going concerned father." "Same thing," Sarah laughed, linking her arm through Marcus's. "She's got you there." Whose side are you on?
Hers. Always hers. Sarah kissed his cheek.
But I'll help you run the background check later.
I heard that, Emma called from ahead. You were supposed to.
The afternoon brought unexpected visitors. A car pulled into their driveway, a familiar black SUV with government plates. Marcus tensed automatically, old instincts never fully fading.
Relax,
Sarah touched his arm.
It's probably just Reyes.
She was right. Agent Reyes stepped out, but she wasn't alone. Deputy Warren, fully recovered, walking without a cane, climbed out of the passenger seat.
Warren!
Marcus crossed the yard to embrace him. What are you doing here? Retired last month. Thought I'd take a road trip. See the country, Warren grinned. Also, I heard there was a certain 10-year-old who wanted to meet the man who took 2 bullets for her. Emma appeared on the porch, suddenly shy. She knew the stories. Marcus had told her everything. How Warren had protected her in the cabin. How he'd nearly died keeping her safe.
Hi.
Her voice was small. Warren knelt to her level. You must be Emma. I'm Tom Warren.
You're the deputy who saved me.
I just did what anyone would do.
That's what Marcus says, too.
Emma stepped closer.
But it's not true. Most people wouldn't. You did.
Warren's eyes glistened. You're pretty smart for a 10-year-old.
I'll be 11 in 3 months.
Emma hugged him suddenly, fiercely.
Thank you for not letting me die.
Warren hugged her back. Thank you for being worth saving. They gathered on the porch, the whole strange, beautiful family that had formed from tragedy. Reyes had brought news, updates on the case that had brought them all together. Volkov's trial concluded last week, guilty on all counts. He'll spend the rest of his life in federal prison. Good. Sarah's voice was hard. He deserves worse. The network is completely dismantled. We've identified and arrested 47 accomplices across 12 states. Judge Morrison got 15 years. His daughter got 8. Reyes smiled slightly. You were the key to all of it. Without your testimony, without the evidence you helped us gather, none of this would have happened. It wasn't us. Marcus looked at Emma. It was her. She's the one who noticed something was wrong. She's the one who tried to tell people. We just finished what she started. Emma blushed.
I was just a scared kid.
You were a brave kid. There's a difference. Reyes turned to Marcus. Which brings me to my other reason for visiting. The Bureau's Crimes Against Children unit has a new initiative. Community outreach, education, prevention. We're looking for someone to lead the Vermont chapter. You're offering me a job? Again? I'm offering you a mission. One that doesn't require you to leave your family. Reyes leaned forward. You've built something here, Marcus. Something important. I'm asking you to expand it, to help other kids like Emma, other families like the Mitchells. Marcus looked at Sarah, at Emma, at Warren and Reyes and Ranger, all gathered on this porch that had become the center of his world. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need, Reyes stood. But Marcus, you were born for this. Some people spend their whole lives looking for purpose. You found yours on a frozen highway in Montana. Warren stayed for dinner. They ate on the porch as the sun set, trading stories, filling in gaps from the past 2 years. Warren had moved to a small town in Oregon, started consulting for local law enforcement, found a kind of peace he'd never expected. What about you? Warren asked Marcus. You ever miss it? The action? Sometimes. Late at night, when everything's quiet. I remember what it felt like. The adrenaline. The certainty. Marcus shook his head. But then I wake up in the morning, and Emma's making pancakes that look like blobs, and Sarah's singing off-key in the shower, and Ranger's stealing food off the counter when he thinks I'm not looking. And I realize I don't miss it at all. That's the secret, isn't it? Finding something worth more than the action. I didn't find it. It found me. Marcus looked at Emma, who was teaching Ranger new tricks in the yard. In a blizzard, on the side of a road, when I wasn't even looking. Warren nodded slowly. Margaret would be proud, the woman who adopted you. You know about Margaret? Reyes told me. Said you were 10 when she took you in. Changed your whole life. Warren smiled. Looks like you're doing the same thing for Emma. I'm trying. From where I'm sitting, you're succeeding. Later that night, after Warren had gone to the guest room, and Reyes had driven back to wherever FBI agents went when they weren't catching criminals, Marcus found Emma on the porch. She was wrapped in a blanket, staring at the stars. Can't sleep? Too much thinking. She scooted over to make room. Do you remember what you told me that first night? At the motel? I told you a lot of things that first night. You told me that luck can change, that being unlucky isn't the same as being cursed. Emma pulled the blanket tighter. I didn't believe you then. I thought my whole life would be like those 8 years with Derek. Always scared, always waiting for something bad to happen. And now? Now I can't remember what being scared feels like. Not really. I know I was, but it's like a story about someone else. She looked at him. You did that. You and Mom and Ranger and even Deputy Warren. You made me forget how to be afraid. That's the best thing anyone's ever said to me. It's true. Emma leaned against his shoulder. I used to have nightmares every night about Derek, about the blizzard, about being alone in the cold, waiting to die. Now I dream about normal stuff. School, friends, Tyler asking me to dance. We're not done talking about Tyler. Dad, she laughed. I'm serious. You fixed something in me that I thought was broken forever. Marcus put his arm around her. You weren't broken, Em. You were surviving. There's a difference. You say that a lot. Because it's true, a lot. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars wheel overhead. Ranger padded out and settled at their feet, his warmth a constant presence. Marcus? Yeah? If you take Reyes's job, the one about helping other kids, can I help too? When I'm older? You want to work with the FBI? I want to do what you did for me. Find kids who are scared and alone, and show them that luck can change. Her voice was fierce, certain. I want to be the person on the highway, the one who stops. Marcus felt something swell in his chest. Pride. Love. Hope. Yeah, kid, when you're older, you can help. Promise? Promise. The wedding happened in autumn. It was small, just family and close friends, gathered in the backyard of their Vermont home. Emma served as flower girl and ring bearer and general supervisor, bossing around the caterers with the confidence of someone who had faced much worse than cold appetizers. Warren flew in from Oregon to serve as Marcus's best man. You nervous? Should I be? Most grooms are. Marcus looked across the yard at Sarah, who was laughing with Reyes about something. She was beautiful, not just physically, but in the way she moved through the world now. Confident, whole, healed. I've jumped out of planes into enemy territory. I've been shot, stabbed, and blown up. I've faced down killers and criminals and a very angry German shepherd who didn't want a bath. Marcus smiled. This is the least scared I've ever been. That's how you know it's right. The ceremony was simple. They wrote their own vows, standing under an arch Emma had decorated with flowers and drawings. Ranger sat at attention beside them, wearing a bow tie that he kept trying to shake off. Sarah spoke first. Marcus, 2 years ago, I was dying. Not just from poison, but from loneliness and fear and the weight of all the mistakes I'd made. I had given up. I was ready to let Derek take everything, my money, my health, my daughter's life. because I didn't believe I deserved better." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "Then you walked into a hospital room, wearing that ridiculous camouflage uniform, with a dog who looked at me like he could see through all my defenses. And you said something I'll never forget. You said, 'You can spend the rest of your life blaming yourself, or you can spend it making things right, but you can't do both.'" She wiped her eyes. "I chose to make things right, and standing here now, with you and Emma and everyone who helped us survive, I know I made the right choice. I love you, Marcus Kane, not because you saved my daughter, though you did, not because you protected us, though you have. I love you because you showed me what a real man looks like, what a real partner feels like, what a real family can be." Marcus took a breath, then another. "Sarah, I spent 14 years as a SEAL. I was trained to be alone, to depend on no one, to treat emotions as weaknesses and connections as liabilities. When I left the service, I was broken in ways I didn't even understand. I drifted from place to place, looking for something without knowing what it was." He looked at Emma, who was crying silently, happily. "Then I found your daughter on the side of a highway, freezing to death, abandoned by someone who should have protected her. And something in me woke up. Something I thought had died years ago." His voice grew rough. "Purpose. That's what I found. In the snow. In your daughter's eyes. In the way she looked at me and asked me to promise I'd stay." He took Sarah's hands. "I'm not perfect. I have nightmares. I have triggers. I have 14 years of trauma that I'm still working through. But I promise you this. I will never abandon you. I will never hurt you. I will never stop fighting for this family, no matter what comes." He smiled through his own tears. "I love you, Sarah Mitchell. I loved you before I knew it, and I'll love you long after I'm gone." The minister pronounced them married. Emma cheered so loud that Ranger started howling. And for one perfect moment, everything was exactly as it should be. The reception lasted until midnight. They danced and laughed and told stories. Warren gave a toast that made everyone cry. Reyes gave one that made everyone laugh. Emma performed a carefully rehearsed speech that she'd been practicing for weeks. "When I was 8, I learned that some fathers are monsters. When I was 9, I learned that some strangers are heroes. When I was 10, I learned that families don't have to be born. Sometimes they're built by people who choose to love each other, protect each other, and never, ever give up." She raised her glass of apple cider. "To my mom, who survived. To my dad, who saved us. And to Ranger, who is a very good boy, even when he steals food." Ranger barked once, as if agreeing. "To family," everyone echoed. After the guests left, and Emma was finally asleep, Marcus and Sarah walked through the quiet house together. "We did it," Sarah said. "We actually did it." "Did what?" "Built a life, a real one, after everything that happened." She stopped in the living room, looking at the photographs on the mantel. Emma as a baby, Sarah with her parents, Marcus in uniform, and a new one, just added today. The three of them at the wedding, smiling, whole, together. "I didn't think this was possible. I really didn't." "Neither did I." Marcus pulled her close. "But here we are." "Here we are." They stood in the darkness, holding each other, listening to the quiet sounds of a house at peace. Ranger's soft snoring, the tick of the old grandfather clock, the distant hum of wind through the trees. "I accepted Reyes's offer," Marcus said quietly. "I know. She told me." "Are you okay with it? It might mean travel sometimes, long hours, difficult cases." "Marcus." Sarah pulled back to look at him. "You found my daughter in a blizzard because you were the kind of man who couldn't look away.
How could I ever ask you to stop being that man?" "You're sure?" "I'm sure." She kissed him softly. "Go help other kids. Go find other Emmas. Just always come home." "Always," he promised. "Every single time." Spring brought new beginnings. Marcus started his work with the FBI initiative, traveling to schools and community centers, training local law enforcement, setting up systems to identify children at risk. It wasn't combat. There were no enemies to fight, no bullets to dodge. But in many ways, it was harder. Every child he helped was Emma. Every family he saved was his own. "There's a case in Connecticut," Reyes told him one morning. 9-year-old boy. Mother's new boyfriend has a history of violence. The school noticed bruises, but local authorities are dragging their feet. "I'm on it." "Marcus," Reyes hesitated. "This one might be tough. The boyfriend has connections, money, the kind of protection that makes problems disappear." "I've dealt with that before." "I know. That's why I'm calling you." She paused. "Just be careful. Some fights can't be won with fists. The important ones never can." He took Ranger with him. The drive to Connecticut gave him time to think about Emma, about the long road from that frozen highway to this moment, about all the children still out there, waiting for someone to stop. His phone buzzed. Emma. "Hey, kid. Mom says you left early. Is everything okay?" "There's a boy who needs help. I'm going to try to help him." "Like you helped me?" "Exactly like I helped you." Silence on the line. Then, "Be careful, Dad." "Always." "Promise?" "Promise." He hung up and kept driving. The Connecticut case was everything Reyes had warned about. The boyfriend, Craig Morrison, no relation to the corrupt judge, was connected, wealthy, and protected by a small army of lawyers. The boy, Daniel, was terrified. The mother was in denial. The system was failing them all. But Marcus had seen worse. He met with Daniel's teacher, gathered documentation, connected with local advocates who had been fighting this battle alone for months. Slowly, carefully, he built a case that even Morrison's lawyers couldn't dismiss. 3 weeks later, Craig Morrison was arrested. Daniel was placed in protective custody, and Marcus drove home to Vermont, exhausted but triumphant. "Another one saved," Sarah said when he walked through the door. "Another one started." He collapsed onto the couch. "There's so many of them, Sarah. So many kids just like Emma, waiting for someone to notice, waiting for someone to care. But some of them find people like you. Not enough." "No," she sat beside him, "but more than there used to be, because you're out there, because you didn't look away." Emma appeared in the doorway. "Dad's home!" She launched herself at him, exactly like she had that first Father's Day, all energy and joy and absolute certainty that she was loved. "Did you save the boy?" "I helped. A lot of people helped." "But you started it. You're the one who drove to Connecticut." "I drove. Other people did the hard work." "That's not what Mom says." Emma grinned. "Mom says you're a superhero who pretends to be normal." "Your mother is exaggerating." "Am I?" Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Navy SEAL, canine handler, child advocate, father, husband." She ticked them off on her fingers. "That's a pretty impressive resume." "I'm just a guy who stopped on a highway once and changed our whole world." Sarah kissed his forehead. "Don't ever forget that." The years rolled forward like the tide. Emma grew from a traumatized child into a confident young woman. She graduated high school with honors, gave a speech at commencement that made half the audience cry, and earned a full scholarship to Georgetown. Criminal justice major, just like she'd always planned. "I'm going to do what you did,"
she told Marcus on the day she left for college.
Find kids who are lost. Show them that luck can change.
I know you will.
Are you crying again?
Good crying.
Dad, she hugged him fiercely. I'll call every week. I'll come home for holidays. I'll text so much you'll be sick of me.
Never, never sick of you.
Promise?
Promise. He watched her drive away, Ranger, old now, gray-muzzled and slow, pressed against his leg.
She's going to change the world, Sarah said from beside him.
She already has. Marcus wiped his eyes. She changed mine. On his 60th birthday, they threw a party. Everyone came. Warren, now fully retired and living in Vermont himself. Reyes, who had risen to deputy director before finally leaving the bureau. Dozens of families Marcus had helped over the years. Children who were grown now, with children of their own. Emma gave the toast.
22 years ago, a man found me dying in a blizzard. He could have driven past. He could have called it in and let someone else handle it. But he didn't. He stopped. He got out of his truck and he saved my life.
She looked at Marcus, her eyes bright with tears.
That man became my father, not because he had to, not because anyone asked him to, but because he chose to. And that choice, that single moment of choosing to care, rippled outward in ways neither of us could have imagined. She gestured at the crowd. Everyone here is connected to that moment. Every family Marcus helped. Every child he saved. Every life that's different because he refused to look away. Her voice cracked. Dad, you taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act anyway. You taught me that family isn't about blood, it's about choice. And you taught me that one person, on one cold night, can change everything. She raised her glass. To Marcus Kane, Navy SEAL, dog dad, child protector, my father, the man who stopped. To Marcus, everyone echoed. He couldn't speak, couldn't do anything but stand there, surrounded by everyone he loved, feeling the weight of a life well lived. Sarah took his hand. You okay? Better than okay. What are you thinking? Marcus looked at the crowd, at Emma, now 28, engaged to a good man who treated her like treasure. At Ranger, sleeping peacefully in the corner, having earned every gray hair. At Sarah, still beautiful, still brave, still the best decision he'd ever made. He thought about Margaret, who had chosen him when no one else would. He thought about Emma, shivering on that frozen highway, waiting to die. He thought about all the children he'd helped since then, all the families he'd saved, all the ripples spreading outward from that single moment of choice. I'm thinking that I finally understand why Margaret saved me. Why? So I could save Emma. So Emma could inspire me to save others. So those others could grow up and save more. He smiled. It's a chain, Sarah. Kindness linking to kindness. Courage linking to courage. Across generations and lifetimes and distances we can't even measure. That's beautiful. It's true. He pulled her close. Margaret started something when she took in a scared 10-year-old boy. She couldn't have known where it would lead, but she did it anyway. And because she did, because she chose to care about one child who had nothing, all of this exists. He gestured at the party, at the family, at the life they'd built. All of this. That night, after the guests had gone and Emma had headed home with her fiancé, Marcus walked to the porch one last time. Ranger was waiting for him, as always. The old dog was 17 now, ancient by any standard, moving slowly, seeing poorly, but still faithful, still present, still exactly where he belonged. Hey, boy. Ranger's tail thumped weakly against the wooden boards. Marcus sat down beside him, running his fingers through the familiar fur. They'd been through everything together.
Afghanistan, the highway, the conspiracy, the years of building a family from scratch. We did good, didn't we? Ranger's eyes found his, steady, warm, full of the unconditional love that only dogs could offer. Yeah, we did good. Sarah found them there an hour later, both asleep under the stars, man and dog, warrior and companion, two old souls who had walked through fire together and come out the other side. She covered them with a blanket and went inside, leaving them to their dreams. The next morning, Ranger didn't wake up. He died peacefully, in his sleep, with his head on Marcus's lap, exactly where he would have wanted to be. Marcus buried him under the oak tree in the backyard, surrounded by the family that had formed around them. Emma flew home for the funeral. "He was a hero," she said through her tears. "Just like you." "He was better than me." Marcus knelt beside the grave. He never questioned, never hesitated. He just loved. That's all he ever did. That's all any of us can do. Marcus placed a hand on the freshly turned earth. "Goodbye, old friend. Rest easy. You've earned it." Years later, when people asked Marcus Kane about his life, he always told the same story. Not about the medals he'd earned or the missions he'd completed. Not about the criminals he'd helped catch or the systems he'd helped build. He told them about a blizzard, about a child abandoned on a frozen highway, about a choice, one simple, instinctive choice that changed everything. "I stopped," he would say. "That's all. I saw something wrong, and I stopped to fix it. Anyone could have done it. I just happened to be the one who did." But that wasn't the whole truth, and everyone who heard the story knew it. Because stopping isn't simple. It isn't instinctive. It goes against every self-protective impulse we have. Stopping takes courage. And courage, real courage, is the rarest thing in the world. Marcus Kane found it on a frozen highway in Montana, in the desperate eyes of an 8-year-old girl who had been left to die. He built a life around it, a family, a legacy. And when his time came, when he finally closed his eyes for the last time, surrounded by Sarah and Emma and the grandchildren who carried his name, his last thought was of that moment. The snow, the cold, the taillights disappearing into white, and his choice, the choice that started everything: to stop. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs hope today. Leave a comment about where you're watching from and what this story reminded you of. Subscribe for more stories of faith, courage, and quiet strength. And remember this: evil exists. It always has and always will. But so does courage. So does love. So does the simple, stubborn determination to stop when everyone else drives past. Marcus Kane wasn't a superhero. He was a man who made a choice. And that choice rippled outward, across years and lives and generations, changing everything it touched. You have the same power. Every day, in small ways and large, you have the chance to stop, to notice, to care, to act. Most people drive past. Be the one who doesn't. May God bless you and keep you. May He give you the courage to stop when it matters. And may you always remember that one person, on one ordinary day, can change everything. Because that's the miracle. Not thunder from the sky, not fire from heaven. Just a man who saw a child in the snow and refused to look away. That's the light, and it lives in every single one of us.